Good morning, Temkins.
I really don't understand it.
Good morning again.
Hi. I don't know what happened this morning. I went to look for our
I
link,
have
and
done that.
oh, you've erased it to, yeah.
Yeah, for
But-
some reason, either I archive it by mistake and then I don't know how to get it back without kind of hunting and asking to do
Right.
what you did, have somebody send something to get it back.
Yeah. So,
But now
so I
you've got
did.
it all
Yes,
working
now I
again.
have it again. I hope I don't do that again. I don't know what I did. Anyway,
What time are you planning on getting to the wedding tonight?
probably around 6. Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay. Because 5:30, and then you have to wait till the chuppah till 6:30. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So the only thing I'm worried about is parking, although they have lots of parking there, and it's just like a couple of steps away from Mariano's parking lot. So if there's no parking there, we could park in Mariano's parking lot.
Oh, I thought I'd park at your house and go with you.
Oh, but then we all have to leave together. I mean, what if you know what? Bad idea list, David says. So just okay.
I know,
Okay.
but I'm sure I wouldn't be far behind him.
Right. That's probably true. Yeah. And I'm not planning to stay for the whole thing either, but
Right.
yeah, I think we should just go just in case, because then we're
Yeah.
dependent on each other.
Yeah.
You know how to get there, right? I mean, it's not,
Yeah,
it's
I
not
can
difficult.
figure it out. It's not
Yes.
that far.
It's right behind Mariano's. That's what it is. Yeah. So.
I definitely will find it.
Joel also texted, he said, what time are you planning to get there? So,
Well, I'm thinking if they do, if they start at 5:30, and I remember at Nutschke's wedding, that went on forever
yeah.
till they got to the chuppah.
Really?
Yes.
What were they doing? Just milling around, I think.
No, the photographer was taking pictures of the bride with everybody, with all the family members, and that went on forever.
Oh yeah, that's
Because
probably
you
what's
have to
going
remember
on.
there's 400 or 500 people there.
I know.
You better have an emergency meal here.
What day?
You better have an emergency meal.
An emergency meal. Oh,
Because-
here.
Yeah.
In case what? You don't like the food there or something?
No, in case he leaves before they eat.
Oh,
If
Oh,
it's
I
like
see.
that, they might not be eating until 9 o'clock.
no, they say that the
What
dancing.
they say and what happens are two different things.
Oh, by the way, I wanted to ask you, how did you respond? Since the invitation got whatever, what did you respond? Because on the invitation, you had those 2 check marks,
Oh,
dinner.
well, I don't know what the actual invitation looked like, but the one he emailed was an evite. So you could actually click on it, say if you
So
were
it had
coming
the
or
2
not coming.
things. It had the things that see on the actual thing that you sent back, it had the 2 boxes. One, it said chuppah and dinner, and the other box said dessert and dancing. Okay.
Oh, no, I didn't have that. That wasn't on my thing.
Right. That's why I'm wondering how you responded. So I just put chuppah and dinner. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would have responded.
And what I read about it is that a lot of people only come to I don't know why they have dessert there. Usually it just says, oh God, probably Rabbi Karsh knows what it says. It says, Simchas Chasen V'Chala. Simchas Chasen V'Chala, which means you come just to dance, to rejoice with the bride and groom and dance with them. And supposedly those people, since they're not invited to the dinner, they don't come for the dinner. They usually give like $18 or whatever. You know what I mean? Just
yeah.
So that, yeah.
Yeah, because mine was just a regular invitation with are you coming or are you not?
Right. Right, that's what I figured for those, and that's, well, anyway, we'll see. But yeah, I'll I'll try to rejoice the bride
Yes,
before the other. I'll say a mazel tov too.
of course.
Yes. And by the way, the fact that mail is so hideous now,
Yes,
I'm glad I'm just going to give an envelope.
I'm
and
glad
not-
I pay all my bills online.
Yeah, right, that too. But yeah, better to
I
give
think
them.
we should tell Rabbi Karsh that we won't be in class tonight.
I think he just heard it.
Okay,
Don't
this
tell 'em what
saddens
kids
me
are
greatly.
better.
Well, we'll be at a wedding rejoicing, so be happy for us.
I am
Yes.
very happy for you already. Whose wedding are you going to?
Rabbi Moshe Wolf's oldest daughter, Mussy.
Oh, Mazel Tov.
I know, first marriage of them, you know.
Yeah, very nice.
I
That's
like the way you
beautiful.
said that.
Well, it's exciting. I mean, when your first
Yes.
child gets
You know,
married,
it's a very big
Yes.
stage. It's a very big stage, yeah.
it's all different. I remember, Rabbi Karsh, when you said once, now I'm just waiting for grandchildren. And
Right.
now God knows what you're waiting for now.
Great
That's right.
grandchildren.
Grandchildren.
I'm good. They don't have to rush it. They don't have to rush
Uh-huh.
this part.
I hear you.
All righty. So we were, I think, in the midst of this. I don't think we finished this. I don't. Yeah. So yesterday we were in the midst of this one about robbing, that you're not supposed to rob. This is mitzvah 245, negative commandment 245. He prohibited us that we not steal that to which we do not have entitlement by force and duress, and that is his saying, you shall not rob. And so have the masters of tradition explained, you shall not rob is like the content of, and he robbed the spear from the hand of the Egyptian. Now, there, he hasn't done anything wrong. He was in battle, but it means that they're both present. And so this is a kind of stealing where both people are present. And you can see the fact that it's a separate mitzvah is an indication that they are qualitatively different. Stealing something from somebody when they're not there and stealing something from somebody when they are there is they have qualitative differences, and therefore they both need to be mentioned. It is a negative commandment that is rectified by a positive commandment, and that is his saying, he shall return the stolen property. So let's say this is a man who stole a woman's purse, and then he feels bad, and he goes back and he gives her back the purse. He has fixed what he did wrong if he returns that. Now, clearly, there's trauma and other things which he's caused, which he's not fixing, but the essential crime he has fixed. If he really wants to do tshuva, he's gonna have to do more than that. But technically, according to the law, he has paid his dues. He has done what the law requires. It's interesting. We have this notion that, let's say somebody went to prison, so we're told, I mean, there's this line that after he's finished his sentence, he's paid his dues to society. There's some kind of language like that, that somebody's paid their dues to society, which would be like returning this purse. In other words, you've done, the courts have come up with a punishment, and you've finished the punishment of the courts. That's one aspect of fixing it. The other aspect of fixing it is trying to repair what happened to the person. And this is not simply repairing, in other words, making sure that they're financially whole, but also by trying to make them emotionally and psychologically whole. As part of your tshuva process, that would be, um, it should be, part of your continuing process of repair. Again, you may not be able to do that entirely, and so that's where forgiveness comes in. This is the time of year to talk about that just briefly, and to say that one of the models for forgiveness is that you owe something, but you can't pay it. This could be money. So you owe it, but you can't pay it. So you're asking somebody to forgive what you owe. That's the classic example for this. But let's say you're trying to repair harm that you did to somebody else, but it's psychological or emotional. You're not going to be able to entirely make them whole. You're going to need at some point forgiveness. Again, just like with a monetary paying back, the guy's only going to forgive it if you can't truly pay it. If there's something that you could do to pay it back, then the person will expect you to do that, and there would be the same thing with making up or repairing emotional damage or psychological damage. If there's still something that can be done, then there's no motivation. There shouldn't be, I would think, motivation for the person to forgive them.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
in the old days, I assume it's not now since we don't believe in slavery, but in the old days, if someone couldn't pay back a debt of something like that, wouldn't he become their slave?
No, only if he steals. But if somebody borrows money and can't pay it back, then they are not sold into slavery. The only time a person is sold into slavery to pay back is if they stole something from the other person.
Well, isn't that stealing? If you do something and you can't pay it back, isn't that a form of stealing?
No, I mean, not stealing as defined by the Torah. I mean, we might consider it, like poetically like stealing, but
All right.
stealing and the Torah are the two things that we have been talking about here, this mitzvah and the previous one. And those would be the only circumstances. There is no debtor's prison notion in the Torah. If a person can't pay back, first of all, Shemitah is supposed to end the loan or end owing it. But let's say somebody had given a loan in such a way that Shemitah does not end it. But if the person can't pay, they're supposed to pay whatever they can. And we've seen, I mean, it's a lot. I mean, you have to give almost everything that you own. You have to try to sell everything that you own almost. But then there's a certain point, and when you've paid as much as you can, that's the end of it. To the point where, let's say years later, you regained your footing and you earned money again. Technically, you don't even owe that money. Once the typically the courts are involved. Once you've paid as much as you can pay, it's supposed to be over. But again, you might want to, as a form of tshuva, as a form of your own repentance, your personal repentance, you might want to pay it back even if you technically don't have to. But yeah, but there's no debtor's prison in the Torah. Even if he nullified the positive commandment, he's not lashed, since it is a negative commandment that is given to repayment, such that if he burned the stolen property or threw it to sea, he can give back what it was worth. So again, yesterday I was pointing out that this is a difference between stealing and collateral. With collateral, you must return the thing that you took as collateral. So if it was a watch, you have to return that watch. You can't keep it and pay the person the value of the watch. But with stealing, if you have it, you have to return it. But if you don't have it anymore, then you can still fulfill your legal responsibility by paying the value of it at the time that you stole it. It's the value at the time that you stole it. That's how you'd make the person whole financially. But again, if you're trying to really make the person whole, which would be a part of the goal of personal tshuva, to try to make that person whole, you would also be considering psychological and emotional trauma, and trying to help them with that.
If the
However,
watch, if
yeah.
somebody stole a watch and the watch was damaged, they give it back damaged, or they have
Yeah,
to.
well, but you do give it back. Well, it's not so simple. If you there might be a damage to it that makes it so that there's a kind of changing, we'll call it changing to an object, that can be done, that is considered it's considered a kinyan. It's an actual, like a change made to an object can make it so that you acquired it. And then you don't have to return that object anymore, but you have to pay the value of it. It could be there's kinds of damage like that. And it also could be that there's damage that you still have to return the object. You may have to compensate them on top of it. Yeah, so that is a subject in Bava Kama when they talk about theft. That is discussed there. Now, if he denied it and swore falsely, so if he says it never happened, and then he actually swore in court that it never happened, so, and then it's found out that it did, not only does he have to return what he took, but he has to add a fifth of its value, which again, I've said in the past that we would call this adding a quarter of the value. So if let's say it was worth $100, so I have to give you the object back, but I also have to pay you $25. That's going to be called a fifth, because after all is said and done, 25 is 1/5 of 125. Once I've added 25, that 25 is now considered 1/5 of the whole. Before I added it, it was a quarter. Anyways, that's the way it is with all the fifths. And also, you have to bring what is called a korban asham, a guilt offering. This is one of, there's only a couple of instances where somebody does bring this kind of korban. It's called asham, a guilt offering. As it is explained in its place, Positive Commandment 71, and likewise it is explained at the end of Makos, the tractate Makos. The regulations of this commandment have already been explained in the 7th chapter of Bava Kama, see Parshat Kedoshim, and etc. Okay, up until now, we've been talking about stealing items, movable objects, what might be called chattel. But here we are now talking about real estate. He prohibited us yeah. So he prohibited us that we not steal the boundary of the land, and that is that we change the boundary and border that is between us and others, such as it would be possible for a liar to say that the land of someone else's is his. So if I would knowingly do that, change the boundaries and claim that this property is mine, that is a form of theft. The language that he uses here is Geneva, not for some reason Gezela. He uses the language of theft, not robbery, even though this does seem to be in your face kind of something. But I guess when you were changing the markers or whatever you did, you might have been doing it while they weren't paying attention. I know of many cases in Israel where people put additions onto their apartments or their houses, and those additions went into another person's property. Now, at first, the other person would demand that the person change what the addition so that it no longer goes into their property. A lot of times, the person ends up giving financial consideration to the other person so they don't have to change, they don't have to undo the addition that they did. It also happened to my father. My father built a porch on the side of his house to be a sukkah porch, and it ends up that it did go like several inches beyond the border into that other person's property. That was resolved amicably, but it's not always amicable. And that is that we change the boundary and the border that is between us and others such that it would be possible for a liar to say that the land that really belongs to someone else is his. And that is his saying, capital H, Hashem, do not move back the boundary of your neighbor. And in the Sifrei, they said, is it not already stated that you shall not rob? See, here they went to rob and not theft. What do we say? What do we learn to say with do not move back? It teaches that one who removes his fellow's boundary transgresses two negative commandments. Perhaps the same holds true also outside the land of Israel. Hence, we learn to say in your inheritance that you shall inherit in the land, to teach that in the land one transgresses two negative commandments. Outside the land, one transgresses one. So that means that this is a halachic midrash that according to this midrash, there's something unique here relative to the land of Israel, so that this is not simply about stealing, but this is also about stealing that inheritance. When we were studying this in our Thursday class, by the way, I know this is annoying, but I'm going to miss another Thursday class. I'm going to St. Louis to spend time with my father and my mother. And it just worked out that I had to do it on Thursday. So I apologize for that, but we're going to miss another one of our Thursday classes. But in our Thursday class, we were talking about the daughters of Tzlafchad. And in particular, what was annoying me, what was sort of tickling my curiosity was why it mattered so much that Tzlafchad get a portion in the land. And the way I was expressing my question was, you know, if because and the way they argued it, they said, why should our father's name be diminished? So there was something, it sounded like it was a kind of legacy issue, that him having the land, uh, getting land, even though he's no longer there, it's somehow has to do with his legacy, his name going forward. And what was bothering me was, how long does that last? Um, like it is true, you could have something where somebody would say, that's the old Miller house, right? And maybe people would call it the old Miller house for a generation or two, but after a while, it's not going to be called the old Miller house anymore. It's just, and there's no guarantee that it would be identified with Slavchod. It could be that it will be identified with, with one of his children or grandchildren, whoever else has it at some point. It won't be called Slavchod's house. It'll become Yitzchak's house because his grandson was some famous guy. Now, as Lois had discussed before, the fact that this parsha is in the Torah did seal the deal, and it does become something that lasts forever because the Torah talks about it. But if you're just staying, if you're not stepping out of the narrative, but you're staying in the narrative, there just seems to be very important. Those first boundaries seem to be very important, deeply important, and you're seeing it again over here. Messing with those boundaries is like a separate prohibition. That's what he seems to be saying. You transgress two negative commandments if it's in the land of Israel. One is for robbery, but the second one is messing with the boundaries of somebody's land in Israel. And that's considered to be a deeply problematic thing to do to somebody. So obviously it matters a great deal. Here's another example. Behold, it has been made clear that this commandment is specific to the land of Israel. So that is commandment 246, is about specifically stealing land in the land of Israel. And it seems related to that issue that we spoke about in our Thursday class about the daughters of Tzlafchad. Okay, here's another long one. He prohibited us regarding that which is found with us that we owe, not to withhold it and not to give it. So let's say I owe okay, let's see. Let's see exactly what the scenario is. He prohibited us regarding that which is found that we owe, not to withhold it and not to give it. And that is his saying, you shall not exploit. The actual words there are lo ta'ashok. You shall not exploit. And that is that theft is taking something that is with somebody else by ruses and in secret. And we have prohibited this action as the saying, you shall not steal, as we explained. Robbery is the taking of something that is with another by force, duress, and fighting, like the robbers in the cities do. And we're prohibited this action by his saying, and you shall not rob. Whereas exploitation is that someone else has something of value, meaning money that is coming to him, that one is holding and not giving to him, either by force or not by force, but always through deception. And he prohibited this action also with his saying, you shall not exploit. So this could include Sam's case, which is that I owe him money. Maybe he forgot about it, or I somehow shifted things around so he didn't realize that I still owe him money. Or it could be that there was an inheritance and he's owed money and I happen to have it. Could be that we combined, we shared a lottery ticket, and I kept the money as if I was the only one who got the lottery ticket. There are all sorts of scenarios where I have money that really should be going to somebody else. By keeping that away from them, using deception, keeping that away from them, I am violating this. And he prohibited this action also with his saying, you shall not exploit. You shall not exploit. Monetary exploitation. What is that? One who retains the wage of a wage worker and all that is similar to it. However, the example is that of a wage worker because it is a full obligation upon you, even though he did not give you money from himself. Money did not come to you from him. So in other words, you didn't borrow from him. You owe him his wages. Nevertheless, since he came to you with a well-known obligatory arrangement, you're obligated. This prohibition about this matter has already been repeated, and he took the example of this matter itself and said, do not exploit the worker who is poor and destitute. So this withholding money that's owed a worker falls into this. His intention with this is do not exploit a worker since he is poor and destitute. As he said about him, neither shall the sun set upon it. The language of the Sifrei is do not exploit the laborers poor and destitute. Is it not already stated, you shall not rob? It hence teaches that anyone who retains the wage of a wage worker transgresses, you shall not exploit, and you shall not rob, and there shall not abide, and out of custom you must pay wages on the same day. They said an explanation of poor and destitute, I hasten to exact payment for one who is poor and destitute, and the one who transgresses exploitation has the same law as a robber. This is from his saying, and denies to his kinsman a deposit or a pledge, or robbery or exploitation from his countrymen. So this is something that he owes the other person. He's trying to use deception to not have to pay it. The way to fix it is that he would pay what he owes this other person. The classic case they're talking about is that you have wages for somebody that they're owed. But you could imagine other scenarios where you have money that's supposed to go to another person, and you're not giving it to them. Okay. He prohibited us that we not deny obligations that we are indebted and deposits held by us. So to deny that I borrowed money, or to deny that, let's say somebody says, I left my baseball collection with you, and you say, I don't know what you're talking about. You never did that. So if you officially deny that, like in court, you have violated this. And that is his saying, you shall not deny. And it is explained that the verse is speaking about money. The language of the Sifra is, since it is stated and denies it and swears falsely, we have heard the punishment. For where do we know the prohibition? Hence, we learn to say, you shall not deny. You already know that one who denies a deposit being held by him is disqualified from testimony, even though he did not swear, since he transgressed the negative commandment, you shall not deny. So this doesn't require. What would happen in court is you would deny that you had it, then you'd have to swear that you don't have it. This is like one of the oaths of shomrim, of somebody who's watching an object for somebody. If you're claiming that there never was such a thing, you might be asked to make an oath about that. But even if you don't, even if it never got to that point, you just denied it, you have already violated the transgression, even if you didn't ever get to having to make an oath. And what they mean is disqualified by testimony is that this constitutes a negative commandment. If somebody transgresses a negative commandment, they are not a valid witness. We've had this discussion before about how do you get that back? Can you get back that status to be a valid witness? Is it dependent on tshuva? Let's say, would it be fixed if the person then returned it? Would they now go back to being able to testify? So that was discussions we've had before. And the regulations of this commandment have already been explained in Tractate Shavuot. He prohibits from swearing falsely about the denial of money that is incumbent upon us to pay, and that is his saying, and do not lie to your kinsman. The example about this is that he denies a deposit, he transgresses, you shall not deny, and when he swears falsely about his denial, he transgresses, do not lie. So you have two transgressions. One transgression is the denial, and the second one is swearing falsely about the about it. And in the Sifra, do not lie. What do we learn to say from it? Since it states and swears falsely about it, we have learned the punishment. From where do we know the prohibition? Hence, we learn to say and do not lie. So remember, he had established this, the Gemara talks about this, but he had also made this clear that when there is a prohibition that has a punishment associated with it, you need two verses, or at least parts of two verses. You need one to tell us that it's prohibited in the first place. You need another one to tell us that there is a punishment for it. You need two verses. Even if you can find a verse that tells you there's a punishment, you still need to find another verse that told you it was wrong in the first place in order for that punishment to be active. And the regulations of this command have already been explained in the 5th chapter of Shavuot. That's about oaths. Shavuot, there's a section of Shavuot that deals with oaths in court. Oaths in court. And this is one of those. And there it is explained that one who swore falsely about the denial of money transgresses two negative commandments on account of you shall not swear falsely by my name, and on account of do not lie. So one place you have this is with stealing. If you're being accused of stealing and you deny stealing it and you swear that you didn't steal it, that could also, it's very similar to this case of lying that this guy left something with you. All right. Just trying to see here. Okay, we have time for this. He prohibited some of us, I don't know why he says some of us at this point, from wronging others of us in trade and in buying and selling. And that is his saying, when you surely sell, you shall not wrong your brother. This is talking about overcharging or underpaying. You are taking advantage of either the seller or the buyer. So let's say on the buyer's side, you're taking advantage of the buyer would be that you knowingly do what we call price gouging. You knowingly charge this person more than the market value of this thing. Oftentimes this person doesn't have a choice. Either they don't even realize you charge them more, which can happen, or they have no choice because they can't get it somewhere else, or it's not easy to get it somewhere else. And so you're not allowed to overcharge. I once discussed this with Rabbi Scheinberg of blessed memory, and he said this is very hard to actually if you take it to court, it's hard to prove this. It's hard to prove that the person overcharged you because they can always claim that they're a different market. So for instance, let's say you're at a movie theater and you're paying $7 for a cup of Pepsi. So you would consider that outrageous that you're paying it. But it happens to be that that's what movie theaters charge. And they could argue that because it costs them a lot of money to show this thing, they have to make up the money. This is where they make their profits, which is at the concession stand. So they have to charge more. Or let's say wine in a restaurant. If you the same bottle, the same bottle of wine would cost you, let's say, $15 at the store, and they're charging you $35 at the restaurant. So the restaurant claims it's a different market. And again, maybe even for the same argument, they will say that we don't get enough of a margin on our meals. This is how we make up and for that and actually turn a profit is by things like wine or other drinks. So that is a legitimate argument. If you can show that you're a different market, then it's not called overcharging. And he just said they almost always can do that. It's almost always possible to claim that you're a different market. So it'd be very hard for a person to prove that the other person was overcharging. There is also an issue with underpaying. We'll talk about underpaying tomorrow. So this is called ona'a, or hona'a or ona'a. That's, again, it's either overcharging or underpaying. And usually it's a problem of taking advantage of another person in the marketplace. I look forward to learning with you guys tomorrow. And Sam, we are on with Nach and Nash tomorrow.
We'll be there.
Okay, I look forward to seeing you guys then.
Thank
All right,
you,
be well,
Raymond.
guys. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
You're welcome.